Hey, welcome back to another episode of From Pen to Page. Today we are tackling question number 4 of the 5 things you need to know while writing or before you're writing your story, your script, or your novel. So stick around and tune in. So question number 4 of the 5 questions is, who is your antagonist? Now, we know the antagonist is the bad guy, right? But it can also be an organization. It can be a storm. It can be an illness. It can be an object. It can be society at large. But whatever it is, think about it like this. If it's a person, it's easy. You create an antagonistic character who puts up challenges that the protagonist, the hero, has to overcome. If it's an organization like a city council or a group of people or, whatever, you want to create a spokesperson for that group, okay? One person to kind of hone in on, all right? Now, what if your antagonist is an illness or something natural, right? Like a storm or a mountain or whatever. Then you almost want to anthropomorphize it. You want to give it human-like qualities. It's very, very important that no matter what with your antagonist, that you don't make him cliche. All right. And what do I mean by that? An antagonist has to have depth. So you want the readers to understand how that antagonist or that antagonistic force became the way that they are. All right. What choices did they make that led them to this place where they are now putting up roadblocks and actively trying to stop the protagonist from accomplishing their goal? Personality, show their personality. Just like the protagonist, you want the antagonist's personality to come through, not just by telling. You don't want to say, oh, they were just a bad person and they laughed evilly as they, threw fireballs at our hero. How does that antagonist deal with stress? How does that antagonist deal, what do they think is funny? What do they think is kind? And remember, antagonists usually feel that they are justified in what they're doing. That's something else to remember, okay? You very rarely get an antagonist in books or films that know that they're actively bad. Usually they think what they're doing is the correct thing. So, weaving that into the antagonist's character and storyline and backstory is very, very important. Basically, the character choices or the choices in life that antagonist makes need to somehow make sense a little bit to the readers, okay? Now, you don't have to sympathize 100% with the antagonist, but you should understand why they got to that place. And you should see the same choices that they made should be reflected in the same choices that the protagonist makes. So that way the antagonist is really a foil or a dark mirror to the protagonist, where the antagonist and the protagonist both had choices to make, maybe even very similar choices, and yet they went in very different paths, right? Now, of course, you don't want to make your antagonist more interesting than your protagonist, but there should be enough meat there for us to understand the antagonist and to really want them to lose. I'm going to give you a few examples of some antagonists. Let's start off with Michael Crichton's Andromeda Strain. Now, in it, I forget the protagonist's name in the story, but he basically is a scientist and he's dealing with this deadly engineered virus that literally melts steel and destroys human cellular tissue, and they're dealing with this thing. Now, Crichton did a great job of kind of giving not a thought process, but a feeling to this virus. All it knew was that it wanted to devour and it was hungry, right? So Crichton does a great job of attributing and giving human characteristics to something that really wasn't human. He also had characters that represented the government agencies that were corrupt. And so he kind of also used spokespersons that sort of represented larger groups to also throw up challenges and problems for the protagonist to overcome. In film, I think one of the greatest antagonists in modern film would actually be Khan from Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. I happen to be a bit of a Star Trek nerd, but I think that antagonist encapsulates so many good qualities of what a good antagonist has to offer. So Captain Kirk left this guy and his crew of rebels stranded on a planet in deep space, right? And this rebel guy, Khan, was there with his wife. Well, all hell broke loose. The atmosphere changed on the planet they were on, and his wife died. And he was left to rot. No one ever checked on him. And so he grew bitter, and he started to blame Kirk for the death of his wife. And so when he sees a chance to hijack another starship and get revenge on Kirk, it's very understandable. Now, you know, he's not sympathetic, and he does some very horrendous things to get to Kirk, you know, ultimately killing Mr. Spock even. But you understand at least a little bit of why he's gunning for Kirk so much. And the fact that he becomes obsessed with revenge, you know, to the point of even destroying himself just to get revenge on Kirk, makes him an excellent antagonist. Your antagonist is vital to the story. Again, just remember, don't make him cliche. Give him a reason for what he's doing. Okay. If it's a non-human, anthropomorphize it. If it's a group, give it a spokesperson. But whatever it is make it interesting, make it make sense, and make sure that antagonist is continually pushing and throwing obstacles at the protagonist, which can, again, contrast with the choices the protagonist makes in your story. I hope you found this helpful. Next time we will talk about number 5, the last thing you should know before writing your short story, your screenplay, or your novel. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.